Welcome to Inside the NCAA. I'm Haydyn Gibson. The NCAA Convention will take place in early January, and a focal point of discussion across all three divisions is the name, image, and likeness legislation. To provide an update on the process of the legislation from a Division II perspective, I'm joined by Scott Larson. Scott is the chair of the Division II Legislation Committee and the Director of Athletics at Lubbock Christian University. Scott, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Haydyn. It's good to be here.
Scott, you've been a part of the name, image, and likeness process since the beginning, as the Division II Legislation Committee was tasked with creating the proposals. What are the highlights of the Division II proposals to allow student athletes to utilize their name, image, and likeness?
Well, there's quite a laundry list. These proposals would permit student athletes to use their name, image, and likeness to promote their own athletically related work product, permit student athletes to promote athletically or non-athletically related products or services, including but not limited to modeling institutional athletics apparel and equipment, establishing a monetized media platform subject to school policies, of course, permit student athletes to be paid for autographs while not representing the institution, permit student athletes to be paid for appearances at commercial businesses and charitable, educational, and nonprofit agencies, again, subject to school policies, as well as permit student athletes to include their athletic status and ability in such promotions. Also allows student athletes to sell athletics apparel, used equipment, and awards provided by the school at any time in their career. Permits student athletes, their families, or friends to organize fundraisers for other student athletes, their family members, in extreme circumstances, illness, house fire, medical needs, things like that, while maintaining the current restrictions on fundraising for education-related items. In other words, not being able to fundraise for scholarships and things like that. Also, permit student athletes to promote their availability for private lessons. Right now, student athletes can get private lessons, but can't advertise for their own private lessons. And then also they can have their own camps. If school facilities are used, of course, student athletes would have to follow all applicable institutional policies as far as that is concerned. Would also allow commercial business to advertise the presence of student athletes at their business for school fundraising. Then finally, permit student athletes to license their name, image, and likeness for commercial products unrelated to their work product.
It sounds like there's a lot of opportunities for student athletes to utilize their name, image, and likeness. With that being said, what happens next in terms of process for approving the proposed legislation?
Well, the hard part is done. It's the easy part left, easy in terms of just voting on it. At the NCAA Convention in January, which of course is virtual this year, Division II will vote via its one institution, one vote legislative process on all of these proposed rule changes that would allow student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness.
Like you said, the hard part is done, but can you rewind a little bit and tell us a little bit more about what the process looked like to develop the proposals, and how was the divisional membership involved?
Well, it all started with the Board of Governors put together a name, image, and likeness working group, which included representatives from all three divisions. And then, again, it just kind of funneled down from there. There's a ton of membership review and input, including a survey taken by more than 1,000 representatives of Division II institutions and conferences, and among them, student athletes were heard as well. So coaches, administrators, student athletes, everybody had the opportunity to have a voice in this process.
You mentioned that student athletes were involved. Can you tell us a little bit more about how they were involved in the process and how important their involvement has been?
Well, like in anything the NCAA does, or the member institutions of the NCAA does, the student athlete voice is a big priority. And it was here in this case in creating these proposals. As three members of the Division II Student Athlete Advisory Committee were part of the legislation committee's meetings when we created these proposals. And then Division II SAC thankfully formally supported these proposals during their November meeting.
Scott, you are also a member of the NCAA Board of Governors Federal and State Legislative Working Group on Name, Image, and Likeness that included representatives from all three divisions. One of its directives was to modernize rules for student athletes in a way that supports the college model of sports, where participants are students and not employees. As an athletics director, how do you think these proposals will meet that directive?
I think quite simply, it allows permits student athletes to behave like quote unquote regular students at an institution. Regular students, the laundry list of things that I listed earlier that these proposals would allow student athletes to do. Regular students can already do, non-student athlete students can already do. They can create fundraisers for friends and family in times of extreme circumstances. They can sell things that they receive for the institution and make money off of those. They can be influencers on social media and make money off of that. This just simply allows student athletes to be treated the same as any other general student on campus.
You've made a lot of great points. And Scott, I just want to thank you again for your time today and all the insight you've provided. For Inside the NCAA, I'm Haydyn Gibson, and thank you for tuning in.